Hello and welcome to this DraftKings preview. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Manchester United versus Bournemouth game and the Leicester City versus Crystal Palace game. We're going to be taking a look at who are the kind of must-have players, who are the studs for the slate, who are those players who can give you that little bit of a differential, send you flying up those leaderboards. Obviously the main premise with DraftKings, we're looking at the goals, but also, we're looking at those players who have those incredible floors so that when they do score, when they do assist, they send you absolutely flying. Or when they don't score, when they don't assist, they still pull in a good sort of 10 odd points that holds your ranking and gets you a very solid finish. So without further ado, let's take at the first few picks. So with DraftKings football or soccer, whatever takes your fancy, the first thing we are considering are the set piece takers, because these are the guys who are going to get you consistent points week in, week out. So for the Manchester United versus a Bournemouth game, the most expensive player coming in on the slate is Bruno Fernandes, the set piece taker for Manchester City. Since he transferred to them in the January transfer window, he has been incredible. He's basically locked his place on all the set pieces other than the close free kicks, which are taken by Rashford. Now and again, Fernandes gets penalties, he gets corners, and even if he doesn't score, which he has been scoring a lot and assisting, so that's also something to consider, he gets a hell of a high floor and definitely a player to consider, even though he is the most expensive player on the slate. So for Bournemouth, they've got a few set piece takers. Other players to mention, Ryan Fraser and Diego Rico, who before had been on a lot of set pieces. However, now with Ryan Fraser's contract issues, he most likely won't be playing, so not really one to consider. Diego Rico hasn't been playing that much either, which is why he's a much cheaper player on the slate, although if he does get a start, we may see him back on set pieces. However, for now, the most likely player to be taking the set pieces in this game is Harry Wilson. And then on to the Leicester City versus Crystal Palace game. Leicester City, we have James Maddison, takes most of the free kicks and set pieces. Only really Ben Chilwell takes them some of those sort of left-sided in-swinging crosses, or from the right side, whipping in at those corners with his left foot, although we see Maddison going out to take them quite a bit anyways, and Maddison has all the free kicks, while the penalties are allocated to Jamie Vardy. On to Crystal Palace now, and we're looking at Luka Milivojevic for this one. I will say with him that he's very likely to pick up a yellow card and concede fouls, as he has 9 yellow cards already this season. Definitely something to consider. However, at his cheap price of 6,100, being on set pieces is a massive bonus for a midfielder of that price. While also we have Patrick Van Aanholt coming in at 6,300 for Crystal Palace, who also gets quite a few of those set pieces. We saw at the weekend, or last week, when Luka Milivojevic was getting a bit fatigued, Van Aanholt would go out and take all of the set pieces and actually ended up with the most crosses in that game, and also can take some free kicks. So Van Aanholt definitely one to consider, although he is one of the most expensive defenders on the sheet, if not on the slate, if not the most expensive player at 6,300, with Maddison coming in at 10,100, being the second most expensive player on the slate, only just behind Bruno Fernandes, who we've just discussed, and Harry Wilson coming in at a very cheap 5,200. Definitely one to consider there. And without further ado, let's take a look at some of those differential and must-have other picks in the slate. Okay, so now taking a look at some of the other options on this slate. As I've already said, Fernandes and Maddison, the two most expensive players on there. Then we come to the likes of Martial, Rashford. These are the kind of guys who, if they don't score, won't get too many points. But obviously, against Bournemouth, a weak defence, I think I'll be making a few teams with those guys in there just because they're very likely to get some goals. I think a very, very good value player, if we go here to the midfield section, and we scroll down to here. I mean, how Scott McTominay is more expensive or more expensive than Paul Pogba. I don't know. It's probably because Pogba hasn't been getting too many minutes. And to be fair, Pogba doesn't really get fouls drawn or interceptions. He sort of plays the pass to assist, so I can kind of understand that. But Pogba does like to take shots. He will get a few assists, or likely to get assist to shot. So Pogba for 5,600, great value for money in my opinion. Looking at some of the other options, I mean, what I find funny here is if we go to the forwards, we see Islam Slimani at 8,200, who hasn't even been playing for Leicester, and then their main forward, Jamie Vardy, at 7,400. Don't know what that's on about, but for 7,400, I think Jamie Vardy provides great value. I will say in this fixture, the Leicester City versus Crystal Palace fixture, Crystal Palace did actually win it on aggregate 8-0 last season, although Leicester City have been the much better side, and neither team has really sort of come to grasp or got to grasp with playing football. After the restart, obviously Crystal Palace had that win against Bournemouth, and Leicester City have been picking up points here and there, but both sides struggling quite a bit, so we could potentially see a very low scoring game in this one, with the Crystal Palace and even Leicester, two very good defences, like to be low scoring, whereas in the other game, the Manchester United game, I'm expecting that to be quite high scoring. So I'd be looking at probably Martial and Rashford as your attacking options, have a very, very high upside and are likely to score. Obviously in this slate we need 3 players, so that means you have to pick a player from like 3 teams out of the 4, which may be a bit difficult, although I think Leicester, Crystal Palace and Manchester United are the main ones you're going for, even though Bournemouth can provide some great value as their most expensive player is at 5,200. If we take a look at some of the other midfielders, obviously the main guys, I mean Greenwood coming in as a midfielder is very nice, 8,300, a bit cheaper than Martial and Rashford, and he did get a goal and assist in the last game, so if he starts could be a very nice one. Don't know whether he will start though. It's likely that we'll see Dan James playing in this game after he was benched the other day, although because of those goals, that goal and assist, we may well see Greenwood start. Other players to look out for, the likes of Wilfried Zaha, obviously if he has a good game, can do very well, although he hasn't really been doing that much recently. Since the restart, he's been very slow to sort of start and get going. Harvey Barnes, another one, if he starts, could have a great game. As we scroll down here, there aren't too many players to sort of mention. Obviously I mentioned Wilson, and then we get to the sort of much cheaper options. Maybe looking at the Manny Matic, he can have quite a good game for Manchester United on the winning side. The defenders, I'm mainly looking again at Manchester United defenders, probably the likes of Harry Maguire and Aaron Wan-Bissaka are the 2 main ones I'd go for. Obviously Chilwell coming in at 6,000, it was 6,400 for Chilwell, sorry, and then Patrick Van Aanholt coming up 5,700, a bit cheaper for him. That's quite a nice price. So if we're looking there, I'd probably be looking at Patrick Van Aanholt and Wan-Bissaka as my 2 main defenders, maybe Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire, because I do think that Manchester United will keep a clean sheet and get that win. Leading onto those stats, that means we'll be looking at goalkeepers. Now De Gea, I think pretty much you're guaranteed at least a win from this, most likely a clean sheet. So if you're looking for a solid 10 points, he is the solid one on there. I wouldn't even say that Kasper Schmeichel is a guaranteed win or clean sheet. We could see this be a 0-0 draw, or Palace can nick it, or Leicester City could go and win, but that doesn't mean Palace won't score. And for 400 more, I think you should be investing your money into De Gea here, although Schmeichel is more likely to receive shots. That being said, I think I'm likely to go with Vincente Guaita for me. I think we'll face quite a few shots against Leicester, and also has more of an opportunity to get a clean sheet or a win than Bournemouth's Aaron Ramsdale. And then we go to our utility players. For my utility player, I kind of look at a player between the sort of 5 or 4 to sort of 6,000 range. I tend to like to get a midfielder in there, although if I see a forward who's very cheap or a defender who's incredibly good value, I'll go after them. So looking for the players around this sort of price bracket, I mean, I don't mind Benteke. If Benteke is back from injury, I like that as a decent little punt. Could definitely go and grab himself a goal. Josh King, another one who's on there, who could do okay, even though against the Manchester United side, I don't really see them doing that much. Brandon Williams playing on that left side, I do like it if he plays. Other than that, if we maybe take a look at Luke Shaw, or try and find Luke Shaw and see what his value is. Luke Shaw at 4,700. He got a 4 after starting the game really well, getting sort of 3 points. He then went on to get a yellow card and some fouls conceded. In this game, I don't see Bournemouth putting up as much of a fight, to be honest. I see Luke Shaw be able to get down that wing and cross the ball in more than he regularly does. He tends to just slip that ball back inside to Rashford or play the ball down the line to Rashford. However, I see this game as an opportunity for him to get a lot further down that wing, get some crosses in. So I think Luke Shaw definitely one I'm looking out for, and one I can also sort of back to get the 3 clean sheet points. And Harry Maguire as well, definitely one to look out for. A lot of goal scoring potential up from those corners. But yeah, other than that, I think I've sort of gone through the sort of main players in the slate. I think Fernandes, for me, is one to definitely look at and build a team around. Although you can't get Martial and Rashford, I think just having Fernandes and Martial or Rashford, picking one of the ones out of those who you think is going to score, or you could just go for Martial, Rashford, Greenwood, get all the Manchester United attackers as they're the ones who are likely to score. But other than that, Jamie Vardy also provides great value, and also you could look at maybe some of the Crystal Palace attackers if you're looking at a differential. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you made it this far, please, if you could give us a subscribe, it would help the channel out a lot. And if you've enjoyed the content, leave a like down below, and I will see you soon. Cheerio.